Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Coffee Break. I am Jake Shapiro from DenverFan.com, filling in for Rachel Vigil. He is DMAC, host of The Drive from 2 to 6 p.m. every single day on 104.3 The Fan. DMAC, I love this time of year. I love today, Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Black Wednesday, as some people call it. We're getting into the time of year where I don't remember what day it is when I wake up. It's from that time of year, DMAC.
Yeah, I know what day it is. I know what time it is. I know everything. I'm acutely aware of everything because we are hosting Thanksgiving for it's not the biggest Thanksgiving, but for us it's massive. It's 9 people. And it's seriously, Jake, when we became empty nesters, we became hermits. And I don't think we've had 9 people in our house in the past 5 years. So no, I know exactly what's going on. I know every toilet that's been cleaned. I know every room that's been vacuumed. So I'm glad for your ambiguous nature, Jake. To that, I would say, wait till you have to grow up.
Well, you've never been on top of your game more, and you're in a unique situation from my perspective because one of your sons is bringing home a girlfriend for
Yes.
Thanksgiving. I am in the exact opposite situation where I am going to my fiance's Thanksgiving. So I thought we'd start the show with a little bit DMAC's fatherly advices for going to a new family's Thanksgiving. If you've got any tips, I'm willing to write them down.
Is this your first Thanksgiving with her family?
I did it last year, but we'll pretend it's my first.
All right. Are you spending the night there?
I am spending the night there.
Okay. Make sure you know if you should be in the same room or not. Start there. Be willing to sleep in a different room if there's an issue. Now, in the McKee household, hey, it's the devil's playpen. Anything goes. But I think it's polite to at least ask. Also, here's what you should talk about at dinner. Politics, religion, and sex. The more that you can talk about that, I think the better. Who doesn't love that conversation? And depending on the household you go to, I'll give you 2 scenarios. Just at some sort of time when you feel things are lagging, just say one of 2 things. Man, am I glad Trump is back in? Or, holy cow, there's no way Trump should be running again. Just one of those 2 conversation starters, depending on the mood of the crowd. Jake, I'm sure it's going to just get things going the right way.
Oh, man. Well, I will tell you, since this is my second. Last year, I did make that adaptation and did not sleep with my now fiance. So, that's a good piece of advice. And I will say the most uncomfortable conversation I did have last Thanksgiving was around politics. The second most uncomfortable conversation I had, the Rapids were actually playing on Thanksgiving in a playoff game last year. And big football household. And I was trying to explain to them kind of soccer. And I think DMAC, me and you are similar, where it's like, if you put 2 guys fighting over a ball in the middle of a field, it doesn't matter what you call it. Me and you are going to call it sports and we'll be interested in it. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, but Jake, you tried to convince people on Thanksgiving Day that soccer was a real sport. And that inherently just made you a pariah. So there's something in your DNA that searches that out. And that's a look in the mirror moment.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the Rapids I really like the Rapids.
And to be fair, Jake, there's no exceptions. There's no explanation.
Years.
You knew what you were doing and you got what you deserved. So I'm going to guarantee you this is what happened. A couple people did engage you, but the people that really hated your guts just didn't say anything to you at all.
I think so. There were some people watching real football on their phones because I was watching soccer on the TV.
Wow, you convinced them to turn the TV to a soccer game?
They really like me over there.
Holy cow, what a jerk. All right, Jake, it feels like you've already got this thing figured out.
Maybe you should be getting advice. The girl should be getting advice from me because I nailed it, apparently. Anyways, let's talk some Broncos, DMAC. They've got Thanksgiving off. It's the first time in Andrew Mason's memory in years of covering the Broncos that they've had Thanksgiving off, 20 plus years. It seems like a nice thing for Nathaniel Hackett to do. It's completely in line with what Nathaniel Hackett has done as the head coach and being very player friendly, very understanding and empathetic towards people's lives outside of football. But it seems like they could use an extra day of practice.
It's my 29th year of covering the NFL. And aside from actually playing on Thanksgiving, it is the first time in my memory. And I covered 3 teams. I covered the Bills, Washington. I was actually in D.C. for a football season, and Denver for the past 23 years. Aside from playing on Thanksgiving, this is the first time in 29 years that I can recall just having the day off to spend time with your family. I think it is weird. It's not typical. Usually in the NFL, you just know this is a day, a half day of work. Because what they traditionally do, Jake, is they'll do all the media they have to do today. They won't have media, but they'll allow you to watch the practice. Or they'll do a very light sort of media session. And in general, Jake, it's actually kind of a cool day. There's fewer people there. It's usually much more relaxed. But there's a rhythm in a schedule of practice. And if there's not a rhythm in a schedule of practice, then why is there any rhythm or schedule to practice? Why don't we have other random Thursdays off instead of Tuesdays? Now, if you want to convince me that, listen, we should have a variety of different days off throughout the course of the year. So you know what? This week is our Thursday off, and here's why. This week is our Tuesday off. This week is our Monday off or Wednesday, whatever. I mean, if you want to come to me with that sort of argument, sure. But if you really want to tell me it's just about sleeping in and drinking on Wednesday night, which apparently it is, because everybody still has Thanksgiving in the afternoon. I mean, you can go to King Soopers and buy a turkey that's already grilled up. There's no requirement to have a 9-course, 30-person, sit-down dinner at noon on Thanksgiving. You can have a nice salad and a ham at 2 o'clock, and you can still call it Thanksgiving. Usually Thanksgiving for football teams is a bonding time. It's football time as a family. Heck, how many people out there will go play football with their neighborhood pals on Thanksgiving? And listen, some people cook, some people go play football, some people go run a turkey trot. I mean, there's different things, Jake, that happen. But in general, in the NFL, you work at least half the day. So this schedule change to me is ridiculous. It defies any kind of logic, and it really looks, in my opinion, soft. And guys who don't care, and you're giving the message it doesn't really matter, will abuse the privilege. I guarantee you. They're young men in their 20s. Whether they get on a plane or not, I don't know. But Wednesday night for 20-somethings, Jake, this is one of the biggest party nights of the year for 20-somethings. And you don't have to work at all tomorrow? Somebody else is already going to make you. What do they think? Like Josie Jewell is basting yams at 9 a.m.? I mean, what are we talking about here? So to me, this was an absurd break that is solely focused on the coaches, the guys in their 40s who are coaches. You are giving those guys the day off. I think it's ridiculous. It's already happened. They had a silly walkthrough yesterday. We had media sessions yesterday. This is just dumb. Put it up there with field day. Like, it's not just one day, but it's creating a culture. You got color-coded T-shirts that you're passing out on field day, last day of mandatory minicamp, and now we're giving you Thanksgiving the whole day off when you don't have to. I think it's silly.
I can attest to being the same age as most of the Broncos players. Like, the group chat of my high school friends has been cooking the last 2 days. Like, everyone's excited to see each other, go out, party. Like, this is not a day for not debauchery. Like, this is a day for debauchery. So yeah, this is, I think, not the best move for the Broncos, but I will ask you, if they were, 9-1 right now, 8-1 versus their record, would your take on this be different? And would it be more of a reward, the carrot and stick type deal?
Jake, if they were 9-1, this wouldn't be a conversation because they wouldn't be taking Thanksgiving off. Teams that are 9-1 work on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Period.
So obviously field day and Thanksgiving were optional decisions from Nathaniel Hackett that could have gone the either way. You've been very outspoken about both. But the Broncos have not had a consistent schedule all year because of the amount of primetime games they had early on, trip to London. It seemed like it was 5, 6, 7 weeks of just
Hey,
them.
Jake, why practice at all? Why practice at all? Well, I mean, what's going on here? We don't want anybody to get hurt. We don't want to, spend time away from the family. We just had our wives trip to Tennessee. Made sure the wives and family got on the plane and the hotels. That worked out great. Hey, how about this as a radical idea? No practice. We'll just send you the game plan on the iPad, and everybody just work out whenever you want, and we'll just figure it out. I mean, could that go any worse? I know where you're going here, and I don't mean to cut you off, but this is foolishness, dude. I mean, I started off the show, you're saying, oh, I love Thanksgiving, this, that, and I was like, yeah, well, not the same for me because we're hosting. Listen, you're doing what you should be doing, and I'm doing what I should be doing. And the difference is when I'm trying to do something that you should be doing, and you're trying to do something that I should be doing. And that's where we get our messages crossed, okay? Somebody's got to be the adult in the room, okay? And that just has not happened with this team. And if I'm George Payton or Greg Penner, see, they don't know. I mean, I'm sure Greg Penner is like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I like to have Thanksgivings off too. Greg Penner thinks that because he has no experience in the NFL. He doesn't understand. George Payton just allows anything to happen. And of course, it's just one day. D-Mac, why are you so worked up? You hate families, all that. No, that's not the case at all. And if you think that, you're literally not listening to me. But it is just like you chip away at that wall, Jake. You chip away at the wall, and eventually the levee's going to break.
Yeah, despite the lack of practices at times throughout the season, the Broncos have still faced some major injuries this year, D-Mac. I'm looking at Javonte Williams, Tim Patrick, Randy Gregory. You could add Justin Simmons to this list of guys who have missed significant time, who are really key players for this Broncos team. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about the injuries, but I need to ask you, which injuries actually impacted this team the most? Because I keep going back and forth on who is my candidate.
Well, there's two that stand. Well, maybe three, but I'll go through in order. Garrett Bowles at left tackle. Tim Patrick at wide receiver, and then Javonte Williams at running back. The offensive line has been a disaster. Bowles is your left tackle. He's your cornerstone guy. They really miss him. They really do. Tim Patrick caught every ball thrown to him. He was tough as nails. We've had drop issues, and we've had confidence issues. Russell Wilson looks to be afraid of throwing a ball in a tight spot, and I think Tim Patrick gives you a bit of relief. And obviously, the running back situation is a complete disaster. All of George Payton's own making, by the way, and losing a bulldog like Javonte Williams just absolutely stinks. So there you go. Those are my three biggies. Randy Gregory, dude, were we really seriously planning on Randy Gregory playing that much this year? Really? I mean, why would he? Why would we assume he was going to play a lot this year? He was hurt when you signed him. You didn't realize how bad, and you still signed him, even though you could have got out of the deal. Let's just start there. And then let's just look at his history for a wide variety of reasons why he's missed time. What tells you he has the body or knows how to condition himself the right way to make it through an NFL season? I mean, there's no evidence of that. So, no, I assumed we were going to have to get along without Randy Gregory at some point. I didn't realize it was going to be this long. But to me, that's not even a big loss because who could count on him anyway?
Right. I'm kind of with you on the Gregory. I think if we had seen him and the impacts we have seen of him have been valuable contributions. Bowles is an interesting candidate as a loss just because I think people forget about him on the offensive line. Oftentimes.
Well, think about that just for a second. Think about this for a second, Jake. We don't have the two running backs we thought we were going to have at the beginning of the season. We don't have the two tackles we thought we were going to have at the beginning of the season. And we don't have Billy Turner's out too. And we don't have the two edge pass rushers we thought we were going to have. Running back, tackles, pass rushers are all replacements at this point or weren't part of the plan in the first place. Dude, that is rough. And then you've got a quarterback who is middling at best or aims to be middling because he's just, I don't know, not in the right shape, afraid to throw the ball anymore, yada, yada, yada. I mean, what a disaster. And then you have a coach who needed a dad, Jerry Rosburg, and had to give away the one thing he supposedly knew how to do. I don't know if this team could be a bigger mess at this moment, Jake. And they're going into possibly the most meaningless game in the NFL of the entire year. A horrible Carolina team hosting a non-conference horrible Broncos team that the only reason this game is interesting at all is to look at how far these two teams have fell from the Super Bowl, which they once engaged.
They're also missing right now, at least, wide receiver number 2 and wide receiver number 3, Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick. On top of all of what you mentioned, it has been a disaster, as you've mentioned, and they're going into this Carolina game Sunday morning, and then they hit a really rough part of the schedule. So, this is the last game that's going to be completely meaningless, although that game on Christmas against LA could be meaningless the way the Rams are trending right now. D-Mac, what do you want to see from the Broncos the rest of the way in these final parts of the season?
Nothing. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't care. Nothing. Nothing, Jake. Nothing means anything to me. Evero's going to have job opportunities other places. But I don't know if he can be a head coach, Jake. I think he's a good, solid defensive coordinator. But look at Mike Kliss's tweet from yesterday. Look at how much that defense buckles when it means the most. They're not a great defense, okay? They're not. You can be the number 1 ranked defense, and if you stink, if you throw a no-hitter through 8 innings, but in the final inning when you're up 3, you give up a grand slam, you're not a great pitcher. You're a really good pitcher, but you're not a great pitcher. Great. We are so quick in our society these days to throw on compliments that just are either undeserved or not deserved yet. And to call this defense like the greatest defense because of blah, blah, blah. No. And we're looking at Troy Tulowitzki hitting home runs in the 7th inning down 9-2. Okay. That's what we got here. We're pitching a shutout when the game doesn't matter. And we're folding like my ping pong table over here in the corner that I guess I'll have to set up if we all get bored with each other and we have to play ping pong. Here, I'll show it to you really quick. There it is right there, Jake. And maybe we'll get real bored and I'll play the drums for everybody. But, that's what we're talking about here. I screw this. Hopefully I can be all right here. All right. So what we're talking about, Jake, is a absolute mess. What do I want to see? I don't know. Can you get on the plane and off the plane, and can you get there on time? And I have no idea what I want to see. There's nothing. Win the game, I guess. Win the game. Anything else, it doesn't really matter. Can you figure out a way to win the stupid game?
Well, Nathaniel Hackett has proved he cannot show up on time to almost any single media availability. But Nathaniel Hackett, you raised an interesting point about Jerry Rosburg doing a lot of the in-game decisions, and also you've got Clint Kubiak doing the play calling right now. What does Nathaniel Hackett actually do?
Well, he said that his voice was very raspy because he was cheering so much. He actually said, that's not me saying, he said he wasn't sure what to do. He said he was talking to the defense. And then he said he helped, enjoy getting the crowd going. Jake, I'm not making this up. He actually said it. So, and then he said he was reaching for the talk button, but he wasn't using it because he wasn't calling plays or he wasn't wearing it, or I don't know. It was one of the more confusing things of all time. We have a head coach who didn't know what to do. That's not the right answer, coach. The right answer to that particular question, what were you doing during the game, is, I was getting a lot of things done. It was good to have the freedom to go communicate with who I needed to communicate with. You leave out cheerleading. You don't ever mention, I was enjoying getting the crowd going. We're done with this, Jake. It was very charming and entertaining at Nuggets games when probably a cocktail or two was sipped before you were banging a drum, screaming on the Jumbotron in front of 19,000 Nuggets fans. How are you going to score a lot of points? Justin Outen. it's another thing in a very sober world to actually do it. And the Broncos have been guilty of really not living up to expectations in a sober world.
D-Mac, I'm going to bring you back in 1 second, but we've got Mark Schlereth here, and it's time to go inside the game with my buddy Mark Schlereth. Mark, how you doing today?
Jake, I'm doing well, man. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I really enjoyed your call of the game the other night, Sunday night, against the Raiders. I know it wasn't as good of a game, but I think Adam, your partner, does a terrific job, and you guys had a great chemistry. And I got to start with the over-under. How many social media references did you end up with Russell Wilson's and meme references?
I didn't pay attention, so I don't. As a matter of fact, I actually ran to the airport and jumped on a flight, so I didn't even look at it. It's always one of those things. Social media, after you get done calling a game, some people love you, some people hate you. I've always kind of went on the kind of premise that if you got 50% of the people that love you and 50% of the people that hate your guts, you're probably doing a pretty good job. So I'll just leave it at that. But I didn't really pay attention. But we did get 4 of them in there that I think fit pretty seamlessly. So that was fun.
Yeah, Wolverine blood was pretty good, Stink. I liked that one. Let's go look at the Carolina game. What's going to happen in the Carolina game? This is the lowest point total, I believe, of the season thus far. It's at 36 right now between Denver and Carolina. Where's your head at going into this one?
Well, I mean, obviously, you look at Carolina right now, and quarterbacking wise, they're a mess, right? I mean, Darnold is going to start this game, but Baker Mayfield hasn't been very good, and nobody's been very good when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. So that's going to be an issue. I will say this, though, I'm doing the Atlanta game this week, so I've been watching Atlanta's offense versus the Carolina Panthers, and defensively, Derek Brown can play, Ioannidis can play. They got some guys up front that can. Burns can play. They've got some guys. It's going to be a challenge for this Broncos offense once again. I mean, as if they could probably play against the Blind Sisters of the Poor and have a challenging game against them in regards to them being an offense. But this is going to be a big challenge. Frankly, the guys they've got inside right now trying to play against that defensive line, they don't match up well with Derek Brown and Ioannidis and Burns and those guys. So that's going to be a real challenge. There's no question about it. Anyhow, so we'll see exactly how they fare, but ain't going to be easy, that's for sure.
Between the Broncos' offensive line struggles and their entire running back room flipping, is there some concern from you that they're going to struggle to even really establish a run game? They have at times this season.
Yeah, I mean, the run game last week was better simply because they spent more time under center, more time, in kind of both in shotgun under center, so they kept them off balance a little bit. The under center, they had a couple of real true stretch plays, wide zone plays that actually looked pretty good. And then they started using a little pitch game as well, a little mid-zone pitch to get their linebackers to flow a little bit better so they could get those cutback runs. So I actually like what they did in the running game. I thought they were more efficient last week in the running game than they have been. But they need to continue to lean on that, open up some of that play action and stuff. And then, frankly, Russ just has to play better. They run the game. They run the ball as well as they ran the ball last week. There were some throws that were open. There were some big throws that were open that just were missed, that weren't seen, or that Russ just didn't throw very well. So those things have to be. And there was a couple of drops as well. I mean, that's pretty endemic of the Broncos offense in general. So all those things have to happen.
Speaking of Russ, I've got the over-under myself at 1.5 touchdowns for you by Russell Wilson. I think he's had 3 touchdowns total, including and since week 5. So he's been struggling to put points on the board for the Broncos. Does that turn around against, you talked about their defense being good, but a lousy Carolina Panthers team?
I don't think so. These are both lousy teams. That's the sad state of the facts. The Broncos are a lousy team. We look at the Carolina Panthers and point fingers like we can't throw rocks from our glass house. We're a horrible football team. That's what it boils down to. We're just a bad football team. So 1.5, I go under. The Broncos have scored, I think, 13 total touchdowns on the year on offense. 13. 13 touchdowns. Come on. Are you kidding me? I was part of a Broncos team in 1998, I think, against the Dallas Cowboys, where we scored on our first 7 straight possessions, like 13 touchdowns. I mean, it's pathetic.
Well, I've got some good positivity to think about tomorrow. I'm sure a good day in your household, knowing how well you cook, and I'm sure you're just sitting by the making food all day. But in the following days, over under 3.5 days of eating leftovers. Are you eating leftovers into, what would that be, Monday, or are you done by the end of the weekend?
Well, I mean, I'll jump on a plane Friday and head out to DC for the game I'm calling. So I think I would come home and I'd still have a turkey sandwich if there's on Monday. Yeah, no, so I'll go over on that. I'd still house a turkey sandwich at that point.
Awesome. Thanks, Stink. Have a safe flight. Have a great Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you next week.
You got it, Jake. Take care, buddy.
Yep, you too. All right, bringing you back, D-Mac. D-Mac, what's Judy Blume? I was going to ask you to read for some Judy Blume yesterday. Where are you at?
All of her life, she dreamed of being 17, like the dancing queen. And now she was, or would be very soon. On July 4th, she and Caitlin were singing along with Debbie Harry. Call me, as they cruised up the island in Caitlin's rusted red pickup truck. But by the time they hit Menemsha, it's about Martha's Vineyard. It was after 5. They figured they'd do sunset there, then head for home. But as soon as they stepped onto the beach, they spotted Brew and Vaughn tossing around a Frisbee. I'm going to put a mark. I'm going to save it right there.
Have you finished Judy Blume before?
Well, you can only read "Hello, God, it's me, Margaret" 15 or 16 times before it gets weird. So,
What's your take on the amount of days you can still eat leftovers for?
That's a tricky one because we sadly in our family give away too many leftovers. It is the great pain of hosting Thanksgiving that we become far too generous. We're far too generous by offering our home, and then we're far too generous with giving the food away. So sadly, while I could go for days, perhaps weeks, it lasts nary a fortnight in my home, Jake, where I can consume the givings of the thankful day. Maybe I'm trying to talk more like Judy Blume writes, and I think I failed miserably there. I think about 8 hours.
So not long. Speaking of holidays, which tomorrow is a great holiday, the Saudi Arabian national team in soccer won against Argentina in one of the great upsets in sports in a long, long time. The country offered their citizens a national holiday yesterday or today. D-Mac, what sporting event would need to take place for America to get a national holiday? And even to a lesser extent, Denver to get a national holiday, because Houston got one after the Astros won the World Series.
Well, I know that they closed schools down for the last Broncos parade. Well, actually, they didn't. Yeah, that's a good question. Now that I think about it, no, they actually didn't. I pulled my kid out of school, but they didn't close the schools down. Wait, I'm just a bad dad. Okay. I don't think there is one. I think we just have a different culture. I think one of the amazing things about the World Cup, aside from the just unbelievable corruption, if you want to look at a positive side, I think that there's just not the abundance of other competitive sports in so many countries like it is here in the United States. It's not like it doesn't exist. I understand, for example, cricket is as popular, or if not popular. I mean, in England, they get pretty fired up about darts. I mean, I get it. But the degree that Saudi Arabia beats Argentina, I mean, that probably is right up there with the U.S. men's hockey team beating the Russians in 1980. And even on that day, as big as that was, I don't think we declared a national holiday, although, I mean, we're probably up for some interesting debates about what was a bigger upset. So, no, there's probably no to that answer. We're just a different culture. I'm happy for people that take pride in their sporting teams. And, I think that's cool. So, but no, to answer your question, I can't even imagine what sporting day would constitute that.
It's funny because, it's funny because culturally, I think America is tied to its sports as any country in the world. So we've never been in that situation, which I find odd. But you want to call yourself a bad dad, D-Mac? My dad pulled me out of school in 2003 and schlepped us off to the NLCS in Miami to watch the Cubs and the Marlins, and then come back in Chicago for the Bartman game eventually. And you're shaking your head, but he was a Cub fan, and that really sparked my interest in sports. And look at me now. So I'm just saying,
please God help me. Please God help me. Please tell me you're not a Cubs fan because of that.
Well, no longer.
Okay.
I grew up a
If
Cubs fan.
I have to hear one more putrid, stinking, I gave up this, I did that, I this, that, the other, this, that about the Cubs, I'm going to freaking vomit before I put 1 ounce of cranberry sauce, which, by the way, is by far the worst side dish on Thanksgiving. Nobody eats it. People only pretend to like it. We could really do without cranberry sauce, period. But I am so over hearing mystical stories about the Cubs.
Well, it might be your time to puke, D-Mac, because we're going to welcome in Matt Smith to the show.
Watch your mouth, boy. Watch your mouth. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? The Cubs are gonna win today. What do you mean you're not a Cubs fan anymore, Jake?
So here's my thing.
You chose the Rockies?
No. So I covered baseball for about 8 years, right? Matt and D-Mac. When the Cubs played the Rockies in a playoff game, I don't want to say I was rooting for the Rockies, but the further they went, the further I got to go. So if they got to go to the World Series, I got to go for the World Series. So once I was actively rooting against the Cubs in a playoff game, I felt like I could no longer be a fan.
By the way, one of the greatest days in baseball history was that play-in game. That was fantastic.
In whose baseball history? In whose baseball history? Not Major League Baseball. Not Major League Baseball. Oh, is that right? One play-in game.
Yeah, from the moment a tree was struck down and a bat was whittled and a ball was wrapped up in old socks, that moment where the Rockies beat the Cubs was up there with one of the top 2 or 3 moments.
Hey, where's your ring? Where's the ring? That's all I got to say. Where's your ring?
Where's my ring?
Where's
your
swept.
ring?
Got the 2016, baby. We got it. Don't even worry about it.
Why are you, Matt, a stupid Cubs fan?
Because I'm from the north side of Chicago. What are you talking about?
What age were you when you left there?
7.
Stop it, Matt. Stop it.
D-Mac, I grew up. Sammy Sosa is like my
7.
hero. What are you talking about? That is where I fell in love with the game of baseball. I used to go to Wrigley Field all the time. I'm a giant Cubs fan.
Yeah, no kidding. I get it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we win. I don't know what to tell you. Not anymore. We got 1, and everything after that's gravy. So, look, I no complaints on my end.
Good. I'm glad you're happy with that.
I am happy. I could die a happy man now. Let me know when the Rockies do anything.
Boy, if anything screams Cubs fan more than I'm happy with 1 win for the rest of my life, that's freaking perfect. There you go.
Speaking of, we
I watched the game on regional cable TV. And tell me how great that was too.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful because I could see it anywhere across the country.
God, that's the first time I've ever heard that story. That's amazing. Tell me something fun about Harry Carey.
Look, calling a game drunk would be a rip-roaring good time. I don't know what you're talking about.
Matt, I've done it. Boulder Collegiate 4th of July game. The Collegians made me drink. Well, that didn't really force me.
I'm sure he poured it right down your gullet, huh?
It was. And so the promotion was because it was Beer Fest, and there was 14 innings of baseball because it was a doubleheader. I had to down a beer per inning because there was 14 different beer vendors.
Did you get in the fraternity?
I did not get into the fraternity because I am not a frat guy.
Did you throw up?
I didn't. I made it through because it was 14 innings over like 4 or 5 hours. So I was teetering though. And the 2nd, 7th inning stretch, which was in the 5th inning because 14 innings, was a blast. I was calling I did the 7th inning stretch, and it was a blast. But
nothing like a
You know,
little liquid courage.
Can I give you a little props, Jake? A small moment. So my son played Colorado college baseball for a couple years, and they played against the Collegians in Boulder on a Friday night. And I'm telling you, it was one of the cooler things I've just seen in baseball in Colorado. It was summer college baseball where the community came out and supported it, where most summer college games are really seriously played in front of friends and family. I mean, like fewer people than would see a high school game. So I doffed my cap to the Collegians, and the fact that they just got you hammered is probably another great tale in their history.
Yeah, my owner, the owner of the team goes, you know, Jake, you represent this team. We want you to be a mascot today. Go out and make a fool of yourself. And I said, bet.
Whoa, wait. You got hammered as the mascot, not the play-by-play?
No, he was the representative.
I was the representative. Like, I was the play-by-play voice. Everyone knew me. I was the PA and play-by-play voice. I was doing both at the same time. And I would also sometimes wear the mascot head, even because it was only just the head. There was no body.
What is the mascot head for the Collegians?
It's a
That's a good question.
Giant baseball. It's a giant baseball wearing a Collegians hat.
Like a junior like Mr. Met.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, speaking of we win, Matt, it wasn't a we, it was a you. You've won King Super's Fan Pick'em, I think, for the fourth time. So now you're
fourth time,
which is 3. So you got 4. I've got 3.
Oh, you have 3?
I've got 3.
Oh, that's impressive. That's impressive. You're still like 6 behind me in the overall standings. I passed you. Like I turn around in the car, I can't even see you in a rearview mirror at this point. I think I'm 4th out of like 11,000 or whatever. So wow. I'm over the beating all of the fan hosts. I'm going for the crown, because I don't think we've ever had a fan host win the actual fan host challenge and then win the whole thing. I'm going to do it.
I don't know if we've ever had a guy in the top 100.
Yeah, well, we're having one this year. He's going to be number 1, and you're looking at him.
All right.
No joke. I'm coming for it. Who I think I'm 2 back of the overall lead. I'm picking like 70% winners. So when you want picks, maybe you ought to stop going to Zach, because, I mean, he's like way down there, and I'm at the top. So next time you want some picks, you know who to come to.
I think Zach is currently last on the fan leaderboard right now. Matt, I'm not going to ask you for advice on picks because I don't need it. I'm doing well, and I know you're very stingy about giving that advice out. But I will ask you.
You play to win the game. Yeah.
Now that you've won 4 different gift cards to King Supers, what the heck are you spending your money on, and when's the next time you're actually paying for your own groceries?
I haven't paid for groceries in a long time. I actually was running low on King Super cash, and I told Richie, because Sunday was my birthday. And so I told Rachel and Richie, because they both were in studio that morning, I said, I need to get myself a birthday present. So why don't I just go ahead and win again? It's been a couple of weeks, and, I did it. 12 of 14 this week. And, if for some reason I let myself get hoodwinked thinking into Green Bay could actually string a few games together. But, Tennessee took care of business on Thursday. But outside of that, 12 of 14 this week. I think I've only had 3 weeks with under 10 correct selections. So it's just easy, man. It's just a breeze. I've got my finger on the pulse of the league.
Speaking of finger on the pulse, I need your finger, Matt, and D-Mac's fingers on the pulse of the Colorado Avalanche. Because they made a pretty big move today, calling up a former first-round pick. Tell us about it, guys, because this is an exciting little move for the Avs, especially for a team that is starting to find their stride, maybe adding some more talent into the team. I'll start with D-Mac.
Well, Oscar Olsen is he still a teenager? If he's not a teenager, maybe he just turned 20. Incredibly talented young man that, I think this is still a little bit early. I'm excited about it, but he's so young, but he's all right. We're okay. It's a great situation for him to come into because the team is so good. It's not like we need him. What was the corresponding move? Did we get rid of Andres England, who wants to wipe out our own goalie? Or is he still on the team too? Like, what?
I think it's because Couter got hurt. Isn't it because Kaut got hurt?
Because of Cout's injury?
Yeah, I think it's because of Cout's injury.
So we still have the guy that hits our own goalie.
That was Frankie's fault. England was yelling. Leave it. And Frankie was supposed to swivel. And anyway, But yeah, no, I'm excited to see Oscar Olesen. This is their first round pick last year. He was a guy who I had penciled in as a potential Burakovsky replacement, possibly on their opening day roster. He played on the World Junior team for Sweden this summer. He produced nicely. I think he had like 3 goals and 3 assists so far for the Eagles, something like that.
It
but
wasn't amazing though. It wasn't
no,
incredible
it wasn't.
with the Eagles.
No, it wasn't. But here's the thing. The Avs are in this conundrum where they don't have a second line center. I have seen enough now to know that neither Newhook or Rodriguez are going to be that guy. I think that they can get by with them until need be. When it comes to the postseason, they will make a move. So that being said, what the Avs need to do here is, first of all, they need bodies, right? But when you're looking at Oscar Olesen, that's not a guy you want to bring up to play on the 3rd or the 4th line. That doesn't make sense because he's not going to have that type of role every night. 5 minutes a night, a grinder, a checker. That's not who he is. He's got a great shot. He's a big guy. So I imagine we might even see him play on the 2nd line, to be honest with you. We'll see how it goes. But yeah.
Really quick. In the overtime against Dallas, this is really fascinating. If you can win the draw on the face-off in overtime, you could literally control the puck for half of the overtime.
100%.
And the Avs basically did that. So winning the draw was really important. We're talking about the 2C here.
Yeah.
You're JT Compher being the 2C?
No, he's not there. He's not that guy. He's just not that guy.
They put him out there to win the faceoff in the overtime. So you just don't think that's a possibility for him, huh?
I don't think we're going to end up seeing that be the move. I think that'd be really, really risky because if you suffer any injury, then you're super thin. They need one more center and they need a producer on that 2nd line, a playmaker. JT doesn't produce enough. In that overtime, by the way, quick dovetail, the Avs have never, that was the one thing Jared Bednar strategy-wise has always driven me crazy with, is they're always trying to attack right away in overtime. But in 3-on-3 overtime, like you just mentioned, D-Mac, that is the backwards way to do it. You have to control the puck, play possession. If you take a shot, you better have somebody there around for a rebound. Otherwise, it could be a quick opportunity the other way. And the Avs are starting to learn that. And we've seen them now stack a few, overtime wins and been able to extend that overtime period. So that's great to see. Back to Olesen, I'm really excited because first of all, I think he's got a lot of talent and a lot of potential. Second of all, if you do want to make a move for a bigger name at the trade deadline, then you're going to need to attach a prospect. Now, it could be an Alex Newhook, who's not really a prospect anymore. But if you don't want to go that route and you want to keep Newhook and you think Newhook is a part of your future, despite the fact that he's a restricted free agent at the end of the year and is going to require a new contract, you are going to have to shop some pieces. So I think for the Avalanche, it makes sense actually right now to bring Oscar Olesen up, see what he has, see if he can hang a little bit, see if he can produce, show a little something, because then you need to know who is on the block and who are your assets available to move at the deadline. And I think if the thing is that his timeline may not line up with the Avalanche, right? Because even if he could in 5-6 years down the line be a really good player, they might have to, that's not their window 5-6 years down the line. It's these 5 to 6 years. So if it's a potential where you're going to attach Oscar Olesen to a Sam Girard and then go get a Jonathan Taves or, whoever or what you will. I just think it's interesting because this is a great opportunity to see what he has. I'll have my eyes on him tonight. I've been waiting to see him play. I mean, this kid's got a laser of a shot. So there are some other things. We'll see if he can be committed to the defensive end of the ice, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
And Matt, you mentioned it might take 5-6 years, especially with guys who have come over from Europe and particularly Sweden. You've seen guys like Teuvo Teravainen, Flip Forsberg, over the years turn into really outstanding NHL players, but their rookie, maybe first few years, especially early on in their development, maybe when they were in the AHL, it just didn't look like it was all there. You see the skills, but they just didn't deal with either the physicality of the NHL or the speed. So, this is a time in the NHL season where there always seems to be a little bit of a lull. So to get him some reps on that 2nd line to see if he can produce with some really good players, it's a good showcase for at the very least a trade, but potentially, hey, we have one more, black ace in our bag come postseason time.
Yeah, that's true as well. And I think more than anything, you've got to start to, they keep having guys get hurt every night. At a certain point, that's got to stop, right? Like at a certain point, you're not going to have any more guys to bring up. This was interesting because you saw Sampo Ranta, Megna, England, Kaut, Keep going down the line of AHLers that we've seen. So he wasn't like at the top of the list, right? At this point, I think it is to see what they have in him. Let's see what the kid can do. Throw him in the deep end. I mean, here's the truth. One player isn't going to cost the Avalanche a loss, right? Isn't going to cost the Avs so much so that was a mistake to bring the kid up. He's clearly not ready. Hey, if he's not ready, you just don't play him a ton. I mean, it's just not that hard. They've been playing shorthanded. They can do it. So I'm looking forward to seeing it because they've got a tough schedule here, November and December and even into January and February. So I'm looking forward to it. They need a little bit more pop from the second, third, and fourth lines. And if a guy like that with a great shot, if you could put him with a Rodriguez and a new hook, maybe he can create a little bit. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Why not?
Hey,
roll the dice, Betsy.
Hey, dude, we got to give Jake Shapiro, Matt, a gold star for dropping Black Ace into a hockey conversation. That is
he knows what he's talking about.
Dude, that is a hell of a reference right there, Jake.
Okay,
you may have to explain that for people out there. I mean, that's a great one. But
so Black Ace is a guy who's called up for the playoffs from the AHL, mostly around the Stanley Cup. And they essentially are practice squad players, but in the NHL. They're just the AHLers who practice with the team. If anyone gets hurt, they're ready to go. They know the system. I actually have used this reference twice this week, and I don't know if this is TMI on the Denver fan side, but one of our people that is around the office chipped their tooth, and they were asking me, how do I explain this? And I said, just tell somebody you were a Black Ace for the Avs last summer.
There's no way they understood that. Zero chance.
They laughed. They did.
Was it like yeah, exactly. Was it like a muffled laugh? Was it like right. Yeah. Exactly.
It was one of our coworkers that knows about hockey. It wasn't just like somebody random. Honestly.
How'd they chip their tooth?
I don't know yet.
They got in a fight with Jason Magna.
It was it was on an airplane, and I'm assuming there's some turbulence.
There's a turbulence.
Yeah, maybe they were taking a sip of something.
Andres England ran into them at the coffee.
Even though he was yelling at them. Yeah.
He said, "Get out of the way." They didn't listen.
Oh, that's
anyway,
good stuff.
It's been a blast filling in for Rachel Veal the last 3 days. Coffee break is off on Thursday and Friday.
No, slackers, all of you. I'll be working.
For the record, I'd do it. Anything to get away from my family.
Speaking of, Matt, before I go, tell people when you will be on the air the next 2 days, because I know you've got a lot of time up on 104.3 The Fan.
Yeah, tomorrow morning I'm filling in for Schlereth and Evans, and we're doing another hour. Those guys can't even go till 10, so we're going to show them what real work looks like, and we're going till 10. Chad Andrus and I will be getting you ready for Thanksgiving. I think we're talking to Augusta Stone. She's on the Panthers beat, that we know of. By the way, hey, just so you know, I reached out to Melvin Gordon. I told him, if you want to tell your side of the story, you come on with us. You come on with us. See if we can't get a little dirt. Why not? Why not? The guy loves attention. He loves to talk. You want to talk? I'm willing to listen. So 6 to 10 tomorrow morning, and then 2 to 6, we're filling in for DMAC because, again, he's got family, and, they won't let him into the office. I heard they disabled his key card for Friday. So
maybe Melvin will just hand the phone to Al Cowlings.
Hey, I'll take whatever. Why not? Hey, if you want to come on and give us some dirt, let us know if Hackett's really in over his head, even though we really already know it. I'm happy to listen.
If not, listen to DMAC today, 2 to 6 on the drive. We've got Sunday afternoon. You can catch all of our post-game content. It'll be DMAC, Rachel Veal, James Marilat like normal. And then we're back for coffee break on Monday. Matt, Stink, thanks for joining us. DMAC, it's been a blast this week, and we will see you very soon on 104.3 The Fans.
Wait. I got more from Judy Bloom. Hold on.
Give us a segment.
Her canvas toed at Vicks. Kicked her Tavis off and flashed a smile as she raced down the beach. Woo-hoo! Can't wait to see what happens next.
You go, Judy.